Hi, my name's Hannah and I'm a sociology and anthropology student, and today I'm going to be talking about agoraphobia.
Thanks, Hannah. So to start off with, how have you been affected by mental health?
Um, well, when I was about 18 years old, I started showing symptoms of agoraphobia when I was backpacking in Central America. I was walking down the street one day with a friend, and out of nowhere, I experienced my first panic attack. And I didn't really understand what was going on. And all I knew was that I needed to get out because I was convinced that I was going to throw up in front of everybody and everyone was going to look at me. And so all the classic symptoms of racing heart, sweating, shivering, shaking. And luckily I was with a girl who really knew a lot about it, and she sat me down and she went through the 5 senses exercise, which is like, I can't remember the order, like 5 things you can see, 4 things you can smell, 3 things you can touch, to ground myself. And so yeah, luckily I was with someone who really understood it, but from then on it kind of kept developing and the symptoms kept coming and the same things kept coming up. So it was only recently where I got diagnosed with agoraphobia. And so the definition in a nutshell, I probably should explain more what it is in general, it's the fear of being in a situation where you can't escape from. And there's a lot of misconceptions surrounding it. First of all, most people don't know what it is. Some people have thought it's a phobia of water when I've told them, or like insects. And to be fair, I'd never heard of it before either. And a lot of people who do know about it think it's simply the fear of open spaces. But it can be a lot more complex than that, and it can manifest in different ways. So some of the ways it shows up for me primarily is on public transport, which is the ideal breeding ground for an agoraphobic episode, because you're on the tube and there is literally nowhere you can go and escape from, and my body is convinced that I'm gonna throw up everywhere. So that's the ultimate sign of escape for me, and sometimes I'll have to get off the tube at a random station and run off, and that can be very frustrating. So it has been quite disruptive of travel plans and can cause a lot of anxiety surrounding that. And also in lecture halls in university has been an interesting thing. When I first went to Exeter Uni, I went to a lecture and I sat right in the middle of the row, in the pretty much the front row, like a nerd, and I had like 5 agoraphobic episodes, and it caused me to, in the middle of the lecture of him talking, stand up and have to walk out. So everyone had to get up for me as I like shuffled across the front row, and the lecturer just stopped talking, just so there was complete silence as I was like shuffling along. I was like, I'm gonna throw up, this is awful. Went outside into the bathroom cubicle, which is my safe place, and I was fine again. I calmed down and thought, that's weird, I'm just gonna go back in and feel fine. And 5 minutes later, the same thing happened. I shuffled out, everyone stopped and went to the bathroom. Felt like, oh, what's going on? I feel fine, I'm gonna go back. And this happened like 4 times in one lecture. And every single time the lecturer stopped talking, I was in the front row, everyone had to get up. And you'd probably think that I probably should have just like stayed out once I was out, but I was always convinced that it would be okay once I got back in. So actually, luckily that's settled down. I've got used to the idea of lectures and that environment. There's I have safety tactics of like sitting near the edge of a row, and have a lot of people who really understand that that's what I need to do. And it's gradually got a bit better. So there's the big overview.
That's good. I'm glad it's got better, because it does sound like, you know, it interferes with your like daily life and things you just want to get on with. But what would you like to have known earlier?
Not to take the tests and lied. Having a name to it would have been good, like earlier diagnosis, because it just made everything make sense. And then once I knew it, I was able to figure out like behaviors and ways to get around it, like whether it was breathing exercises or how not to get myself more wound up in the situation than I already was. I think a lot of people who have had mental health struggles can agree that an early diagnosis is a good one, and also it stops you feeling like you're just making a fuss. It's so strange, even after like 7 panic attacks in the same situation, you can feel like there's like a really critical voice in your head where like you're not actually like that bad, you're even like you can tell yourself it's attention seeking even though all the feelings are there, or like, you pull it together. And I wouldn't tell people about it because without a diagnosis it's really hard to get your point across or describe what's going on because you don't know with yourself that you're not fucked up like you might think that you are. And that's like the point of talking about it. It stops it. I don't know. It stops the shame surrounding it. I guess I used to think that I was fucked up, but as you grow up and talk to more people about it, you realize that everyone's quite fucked up, and that at the same time cancels out the fucked upness, and we're all actually pretty normal. I think people get confused when they're confronted with a mental health problem of whether to either like give the person loads of space and like not ask anything because they don't want to trigger them, or whether the person wants to be asked questions. I can't speak for everyone, but most people I've spoken to and myself, it's preferred to like have a conversation about it. And you're not going to trigger me by talking about it. In fact, it brings me back down to earth. Like having a casual conversation really stops it from becoming this big, like scary thing, and normalizes it. And to be honest, by not talking about it and like stepping further back, I kind of think it reinforces the stigma behind it of it not being a talkable thing. It's like still taboo. One of someone's reaction actually after that lecture, she's a friend of mine now. I went to a party later on in the week. This girl ran up to me drunk, like, "You're the girl that always leaves the lectures like 5 times." And everyone looked at me like, "Why did you do that?" And I was like,
"Oh,
yeah, that's me." But I think if you suffer from anxiety and depression, there's no harm in actually just being quite straight up with people. Like, hey, I'm going to be leaving a lot. This is how I feel. And it's all normal. And to let them know that you're okay about it being casually chatted about. Not associating yourself with your mental health issue too much. Like, that doesn't have to be your narrative. For so long, I thought that my experiences were me and that I had agoraphobia. I wasn't agoraphobic. And that actually just contributed to more episodes. It's just separating those two, like your mental health issues from your identity. It's something with you, but it's not you.
So what would you say are the most helpful things you've found for your mental health along the way?
Like looking at myself and the way I was conducting my lifestyle was really important in helping me reduce my symptoms, like practicing sobriety for a while and changing my diet, those kind of things. Like those kind of things I started to take accountability for the ways that I wasn't helping my situation. But that's also not to say like it's still no use saying it's all my fault, it's my responsibility, because there are so many external factors and things going on inside that are a little bit out of your control. It's really hard to balance out between I'm taking like responsibility in a way that's helpful, and then there's it's all my fault, and that leads to like self-loathing, and that's just not helpful. Like mindsets of it's all my fault and I've done this, you're not going to make any progress there. You just get deeper in that like spiral of self-loathing, and everything just goes. Like at the moment during lockdown, I started like the classic things like yoga and mindfulness, because my mum's the mindfulness teacher, so get all the resources there. And I've actually just started doing the Wim Hof method, which is like breathing exercises and like 2-minute cold showers every morning. There's loads of science behind it, that you can actually change your body from like acid to alkaline, which means you can actually change the neurotransmitters inside of you, and it like really does affect your mental health positively. So I'm just doing a lot of experiments, well-being experiments, and chatting to my other friends actually who have struggled with mental health issues, because we're all in this together. Please cut that out. So if there's a good reason to like tell your friends about your mental health issues, here's a little story. When I was in a restaurant with a group of friends who didn't know about my agoraphobia, I was having a particularly bad episode, and I was leaving the table to go to the toilet cubicle like every few minutes, and then on the last time I just stayed in the cubicle because I couldn't bring myself to come out. When I eventually came back, they were all looking at me like, but I was too embarrassed to tell them why I kept leaving to the cubicle. And to be honest, I probably should have told them, because I think they just would have thought I was having the shits, and I couldn't figure out what was the better option. Tell these like new friends that I have like panic attacks and I have agoraphobia and that's why I'm leaving, or just let them believe that I have the shits and just like let their mind wander and like come to whatever conclusion they want to come to. So that's a reason to.
Well, if that's not a reason.
I didn't have the shits, I just was having panic